Hi there, hello, this is me, it's Moscow here, and this is Leedsista Libre, the free podcast in which I delve into my archives and find a recording of something that I wrote a while ago and bring it to you now. This is a bit of an odd one because it's a recording from 2019 of something that I wrote in April 2016, which is a lot of hops to get to a match involving both Neil Warnock and Steve Evans. The intro to this will tell you why I was dredging it up at the time, not just that I'm a masochist, but also that Steve Evans in January 2019 was still persisting with his notion that Leeds fans didn't really want Marcelo Bielsa after all. You can listen to that in a few moments. Plenty of, I forgot to mention, it's got Giuseppe Beluschi all over it as well. You are in for a real treat. I hope that this suitably enhances your mood after whatever happened at Old Trafford on Monday night. For various logistical reasons, I'm recording this intro before that game takes place. What a glorious win. What a noble defeat. What a reassuring draw. Either way, I'm sure we can just be glad that we are not Tottenham Hotspur. You can go and read whatever I've written about whatever happened there at Leedsista.com. That should be there by now. You will also find the second part of what is now a 3-part A to Z entry on David Batty and all sorts of wonderful things, most of which do not involve Steve Evans, Neil Warnock and Giuseppe Beluschi. But this one does, starting with Steve Evans. Relevant this week because of his comments that I hope will haunt him until the day he dies about Marcelo Bielsa and can he do it on a cold night at the New York Stadium in Rotherham, and the longer version of that quote was flowing around again this week with him saying that I'm sure the Leeds fans would have been happier with somebody like Mick McCarthy or Steve Bruce. We might have thought we were happy, but I think since we've discovered what true happiness really is. Anyway, this is April 2016 and Steve Evans was our manager, so I don't think we'd had any memory of what happiness ever had been. Tactically, said Steve Evans after the game, and my temples throbbed, my eyes filled with tears of frustration. Tactically, he said, and I wished I had one of those Charlton card stress balls, wished they'd thrown one to me instead of onto their pitch. Tactically, he said, and the porcelain spaniel I'd held in my hands was smashed to dust. Tactically. That word alone, from that mouth, was enough to end my weekend then and there, given how I've been subjected to Steve Evans' tactics since he came to Leeds. But I knew it would get worse because I knew there would be more. Tactically. And he was going to say something else next. Tactically. And when Evans had done talking about tactics, there was Neil Warnock to look forward to. Really? I mean, and then more. It's bad enough dealing with our own head coach. Tactically, he said. Tactically. We've got it right today. And lost 2-1 to a team 20th in the table, a poor side exhorted into barraging the keeper and elbowing Berardi by Neil Warnock and Kevin Blackwell, a side who were down to 10 men for most of the second half, when Leeds could and should have turned the losing scoreline into a win. But, tactically. Last time out against Huddersfield, stupefying team selections, defensive disorganisation, poor game management, desperate substitutions and a general lack of preparation lost the game for Leeds, and there was nowhere for Evans to hide. This time, though, stupefying team selections, defensive disorganisation, poor game management, desperate substitutions and a general lack of preparation were hidden behind one crucial factor: Giuseppe Beluschi. I'm a different manager and head coach than I was after Huddersfield, Evans also said. I was pretty distraught and down, but I'm not down with the performance today. I'm just down with a horrific individual error that cost us. And as Evans turned to Paul Rayner as full-time blue and glanced over at Paul Hart, oh, well, maybe not him. Anyway, at full time he could puff out his newly sallow cheeks, raise an eyebrow and think to himself, well, if we're going to lose, at least we've got someone to blame it on. Leeds could justifiably claim to have been unlucky to concede the first goal, and sometimes the fates do seem to be conspiring unnecessarily against a team that is quite capable of destroying its own future, thank you very much. It was a ball to the knackers that undid Leeds for Rotherham's opener, a ball to Charlie Taylor's knackers specifically that left him grasping and wheezing on the floor, unable to properly track Fracklington on his way to meet Mattock's cross. There's something to say about the way Rotherham were able to take the ball from left to right without any Leeds midfielder intervening, something teams have been finding very easy to achieve in the last few weeks, despite the efforts of Bridcut and Diarraga. There's also something to say about Charlie Taylor, but I'll whisper it because I don't want him to hear this sort of thing. But he's not been playing very well for a few weeks now. It's his first full season in the Championship and he has mostly been quality, so that's fine. But I hope there's a coach at the club keeping an eye on his development before he goes full Leeds Byram and has to go make good elsewhere. The best he's had at the moment is a ball to the knackers and the incredulous moans of Sol Bamba once the ball had hit the net. That was unlucky, but then Luke Murphy's equaliser was lucky. Not only the deflection that took the ball past Lee Camp, but the deflection though, but also that Murphy had been shuffled onto the pitch to make up for the absence of Lewis Cook, who had been taken off earlier as part of a plan. "We always had a plan to introduce Watth," said Evans after the game, analysing the tactics he'd got right, ignoring the fact that removing Cook and Mowat for wingers removed anybody from the middle who could give the ball wide. Murphy came on for Berardi to bring that back, got the goal, and then Evans added, "The final ball into the box from wide areas for the last 15 minutes wasn't quite what it should be." The plan to introduce width, though. Tactically. Leeds had a man advantage, a fortunate equaliser, and all the momentum against a team at the foot of the table, and while Lee Camp was made to work, Leeds still conspired to lose. Luck? You make your own luck in football, so they say, and the winning goal was an ABC of the luck that Massimo Cellino has made for Leeds United Football Club over the last 2 seasons. Chuck in a D for Ducara, quietly banned for 8 games for biting, but then skipped to the pitch and Antonucci, giving the ball away cheaply, as he does. The next thing you know, Giuseppe Beluschi is flat on his back, his arm upraised, and Marco Silvestri is panicking. That's the next thing you know, because the bit before it, when Beluschi, with his feet on the air and his head on the ground, tried his trick instead of just heading the limpid cross clear or over the bar, it all flashed faster than comprehension. You can only work out what happened in retrospect. What did he just do? Why is he on the floor? It's Beluschi. And why is Silvestri being sent off? Beluschi. To use Silvestri to complete the trifecta is harsh. He was landed in awful trouble by Beluschi, and Frecklington made the most of the opportunity to go down when the ball squirmed out of his reach and away from the goal. But Silvestri is partly culpable. He's played with Beluschi enough to know that an overhead kick can happen anytime, anywhere. Silvestri should be the boss of the penalty area, claiming balls like that before Beluschi has a chance to fail. And if he sees even a hint of an overhead kick, Silvestri should knock him out cold and get to the ball first if he has to. Perhaps I'm asking too much, but it's hardly the first time. Cardiff last season, Middlesbrough this. Sure, Sol Bamba loves a mistake too, but nobody quite sees them through like Beluschi and Silvestri. Beluschi also has a unique knack of piling insult on top of idiocy in his attempts to apologise, like Cellino dishing out a letter of apology for the whole Hockaday thing while acknowledging that he'll probably learn nothing and will definitely get it wrong again. Beluschi is always eager to show contrition, this time by wearing the green number 1 shirt to face the penalty, but not even slightly eager to learn. As Cellino, as Beluschi, as Evans, offering apologies, hiding behind each other, learning nothing from their mistakes. Evans, still playing hokey-cokey with Lewis Cook in the lineup, has shown no sign of learning from the Huddersfield game, but he's got someone else to point at this time so he can sleep easily. Tactically! The only one learning anything is Gaetano Berardi, bless him. His fury was taken out on the pitch this time rather than on Matt Derbyshire. Leon Best was temporarily unavailable. I would will Berardi to take Neil Warnock for a punch bag in his place, but Brer Berardi is a peaceable maverick these days. Blood-soaked, furious, but peaceable. And maybe the Leeds fans are learning something too. Season ticket renewals are due this month, the month in which Leeds United play QPR, Burnley, Birmingham, Reading, Wolves and Hull. A month in which it's hard to see anyone that Leeds are going to beat. Giuseppe Beluschi has a contract for 2 more seasons. Who fancies watching all this again?